What's up, guys? I'm JJ,
I'm Angel.
and this is PM Football. We're going to continue on with our draft content. I'm really happy that everyone liked our mock draft video.
Yeah.
Thanks for the views.
Thank you, guys.
In this video, we're going to do our top 10 offensive players in this year's draft.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily based on what their position is, what the team needs are. This is purely on skill, talent, and ability, and it's a consensus one as well.
Yeah, so like every team in the league has a big board. The big board doesn't necessarily mean you're going to draft this player first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, without giving too much away, our number one player on this board is Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah.
Is Ashton Jeanty going to be the first pick in this draft?
No.
No. Is he probably the most talented player on offense in this draft? Yeah,
Probably,
we think so.
Yeah. That's what this whole video is really about.
It's the top 10 most talented players.
That's one way of viewing it, yes.
Yeah. So without further ado, I just kind of gave it away. Our number one player in this draft on offense is Ashton Jeanty. He is 5'11", or 5'9", 215, just a thumper. Like, he's a thumper, but when you watch his tape, like, just with the body frame that he has, he's a short, stocky guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't run like that, though.
No, he runs very angry. I love his balance when he makes contact. You can't really push him off of his game. Very physical runner. When we talked about him, you brought up his patience. It's very similar to Le'Veon Bell's, and I would agree.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that is gonna just shoot out the gap. He likes to wait for his linemen to really make those gaps for him.
Yeah, I mean, and then when he does get to the second level, most often case scenarios, like, he's either going to hit you and make you miss, or he's going to juke you and make you miss. Like, it's just so hard to bring him down.
Yeah, and if there's anything we could go against him, and I just want to say this right out the gate, we're going to say some things that kind of go against these players, but it's really just nitpicking. Like, these are all very talented players, so we're really just nitpicking when we kind of go against the grain with some of these players. For example, Ashton Jeanty, his what we would call weakness is he doesn't really have breakaway speed. However, you could make the argument that's not really his game. That's not the kind of running back he is. If you relate it to a team like today, he would be closer to a Montgomery rather than a Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Like, he's not.
I agree to an extent, but I think he's a very good mix of both of them.
I agree with that, yeah.
Because he's got the shiftiness of Jahmyr, but also has the patience of a David Montgomery and the power of a David Montgomery.
I agree. He's just not a guy like, if he's hip to hip with a DB, the DB's most likely going to catch him if he can't tackle him.
Yeah.
He's not going to outrun a DB.
That's the thing, is if he can tackle.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes Ashton Jeanty such a special player.
Agreed.
Is that he can make you miss, and then when you do finally get to him, he has such good contact balance that he can make you miss again by throwing you off of him.
Yeah.
All right, there's Ashton Jeanty.
Yep, number one.
Number one on our board. Number two on our board was we got Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami.
Yep.
Cam Ward's a very tantalizing prospect to a lot of people. We have him number two on our board. We love his mobility, be able to get out of the pocket, create plays, extend plays, and the arm manipulation that he shows. He can throw from so many different arm angles, arm slots, and he throws a really good ball. Like, he makes the ball easy to catch.
I agree. I also like how he extends plays. When you look at some of the best quarterbacks in today's game, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all these guys extend plays. When a pocket breaks down, they're able to go outside the pocket and give the receivers more time to get open. And that's what Cam Ward does. Now, some weaknesses, he can be inconsistent at times with the ball, and there's a lot of times where he hangs onto the ball too long.
Yeah.
However, I think those are things that are very coachable at the next level.
Yeah, and I mean, the things that we're talking about weaknesses for him, like the inconsistencies with accuracy, I think a lot of it has to do with his mechanics. And that's something that we've seen from many NFL quarterbacks in current day come into the league and not be very good mechanically and be able to fix that with good coaching. Now, that all depends on where you go coaching-wise.
Yep.
But I think a lot of his weaknesses are things that are very easily fixable with some good coaching. Like, I think his biggest issue, like we talked about, is with his accuracy.
Yeah. And it's not even that he's inaccurate.
It's just the mechanics.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. It's at times he can be inaccurate.
I mean, there's a clip, I'm sure everybody has seen it, of him literally, it was in the bowl game. And I mean, we can't really take too much into the bowl game because he decided to sit out the second half. So he wasn't really too focused on that game to begin with. But there's a video of him literally just standing in the pocket, not moving, just standing there, frozen. And I mean, that's not a great example, but like, there's times in the regular season where you can see him kind of not have the best mechanics. And I just think that that's a very easily fixable thing. And it's not a thing that would deter me.
Coaching.
It wouldn't deter me from taking him because of all the other stuff on top of his game.
I agree. I think, at least personally, and obviously you would agree for the most part, I feel like. I kind of forgot where I was going there. Basically, what I'm trying to say is his pros severely outweigh the cons, in our opinion.
I think the only other thing that I would nitpick him on just a little bit is he decides to hold the ball a little too long sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, he tries to make the play when nothing's there.
Yeah.
But that's
what every college quarterback does. I would say that's not like a crazy thing for a guy going into the league to do. Like, a lot of NFL or guys going to be rookie quarterbacks have those issues. You coach them on that.
Yeah. Moving on to our number 3 player, we've got Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas. Kelvin stands at 6'4", 320. Yeah. He isn't the biggest offensive lineman in this draft by any means, but man, is he physical and strong.
Yeah.
He is a mauler in the run game. Mm-hmm. That I would say that's his best asset. His athleticism is top notch when it comes to an offensive lineman. He's able to pull on runs. He's able to kick step. He can. Mm-hmm. He has a really, really, really good base. And
I agree. I like how long his arms are. He has a really good aim point. Very strong hands as well. If you're an offensive tackle with long arms, you're good with your hands. You have a good aim point. You have strong, sturdy arms and hands. You could be very successful in the league with those intangibles. So that's why he's ranked very highly as he is. He's our number 1 offensive tackle in this class.
Which I think is a little bit of a surprise to some people.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have Kelvin Banks as their number 1 offensive lineman. To us, we think, again with all the other people we've just mentioned, we think his pros outweigh his cons more than some of the other offensive linemen.
Yes. And like while we're talking about some cons, some of his weaknesses are there's times he is unbalanced. Yeah. You can see that in the film.
Which, again, goes back to his power. Like, he almost uses his power too much at sometimes. Like, he thinks he can just outpower everybody, and he gets a little off balance if he gets hit with a arm over. Like, if he gets hit with an arm over move, you can get him off balance because he's overset.
And another one is at times he gets beat with speed. That's not really like unordinary when it comes to tackles. Like it happens, but it does happen more often we would like to see. So yeah, but again, pros severely outweigh the cons with this guy.
Yeah. And then number 4 we got T-Mac. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his first name.
Teteoroa
Yeah. Teteoroa McMillan.
Yes.
Good. Wide receiver out of Arizona. Stands at 6'5", 212. He is just... We don't see very many receivers come out into the draft with this size and ability to move. A lot of those types of receivers are very stiff. They're not good route runners. And I'm not going to sit here and say T-Mac is the best route runner I've ever seen. But when it comes to a receiver with that type of size, he's a very above average route runner. Other things that T-Mac does really well is he has a massive catch radius and his hands are super, super strong. You don't see him drop very many balls. Yeah. He's able to box out corners, and he's just able to go up and catch the ball. Like, I think a great time to go look at his film was when he was matched up one-on-one with Travis Hunter at Colorado. He beat him.
Yep.
He beat him consistently in that game. Mm-hmm. You could say he definitely won that matchup.
I agree. I like that you brought up his catch radius. I also want to talk about his contested catches, especially with how good and smart NFL defenses are these days, just schematically and talent-wise. You need a receiver, especially at that size, who has those strong hands, has a great catch radius, and can make those contested catches. You want a guy like that to be your receiver 1, and he has those things. I think those tools could transfer really well in the NFL, because that means you don't necessarily have to have the most accurate quarterback, a superstar quarterback. If you have a receiver that can make those hard contested catches, a guy with great route running ability and a great catch radius, like you could have. Of course, you're not aiming for an average quarterback, but even with an average quarterback,
It makes the throws a lot
an
easier.
average quarterback could put up great numbers with a receiver with those tools.
Yeah. And now we're just talking about all of his strengths. A couple of weaknesses with his game is he's not the fastest guy in the world.
No.
But I mean, at that size, you're not expecting that unless you're like
No.
an Alec Pierce who's just a speed demon at 6'3".
Yeah.
Like, not very many top tier like size guys in the league are gonna have great speed.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I would knock him for is his yak ability. People that don't know yak ability is yards after catch. Like, when he makes a catch, he's not the type of guy that's gonna make very many people miss afterwards. And because he doesn't have great speed, he's not able to pull away from a lot of defenders. Now, I'm not saying he's the worst at it, but if we to nitpick a little bit, those are some things that his game we would hope he can improve on.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning of this video, like these guys are top of the class for a reason. Like they really don't have much going against them, so we have to nitpick those things in order to place who we have above who. But I completely agree. Like he's not gonna necessarily beat you with speed. He doesn't have to. His route running is crisp, and he's a big dude. And his yak, you would like to see him have a little more yard after catch. But again, he's not necessarily that type of receiver, so you can't really knock it against him too much.
Yeah. Moving on to number 5, we have Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. Will stands at 6'6", 323, so he's a little bit bigger than Kelvin Banks.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he's a little bit stiffer than Kelvin. That is the only reason I would have him below Kelvin. I really, really, really like Will Campbell's run blocking ability.
Mm-hmm.
He is I would say a mauler just like Kelvin. And I mean, you more so than me think he's better at guard.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. I think he'd be a good tackle in this league. I absolutely do think he could be a good tackle in this league. However, I think he could be an all-pro guard, like right off the bat. I love, and the reason for that is you brought up his running ability. I really love what he does in the run game. And another reason is kind of talking about his weaknesses. There's a lot of times where he kind of exposes the inside a little too much. Can't really do that when you're left on an island at tackle.
Yeah.
Now, when you're inside at guard, a little more room to, not saying you could give up that inside, but it's not as crucial when you're left on an island at tackle.
And I mean, going back to strengths a little bit, I love his leverage. He plays with great pad height. He gets under people. He can drive people back. He has good power, and he's just super physical.
He is. And that's exactly why I think he would be an all-pro guard. You love to see... The way I compare is tackle is almost like an art, almost. Like there's almost like a finesse to being a tackle. It's very smooth, very rhythmic. Like, don't get me wrong, you have to be mean, you have to be physical. But there's almost like a science to it. It's almost like an art. Whereas guard, like, don't get me wrong, you still have to be clean, nice footwork, all that. But you're really there to just clog up space and just be that mean dude in the middle to just run things over.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Moving on to number 6, we have Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado, 6'2", 215.
Yeah.
Pretty good size as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, Shedeur is another tantalizing quarterback prospect. You're the son of Deion Sanders. So, of course, you're going to have all of the lights on you at every moment.
Yep.
Moving on to some of his strengths, I think Shedeur is a super accurate quarterback, and I think he gets a lot of hate for not being as accurate as he really is. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I really like about Shedeur is that he has great mechanics. He, unlike Cam, he doesn't have great speed, so he has to rely more on standing in the pocket and having better mechanics than Cam, who can extend plays with his speed and get out of the play and not have necessarily great or better mechanics than Shedeur, but Shedeur uses his mechanics to his advantage very well.
Yeah, I brought this up to you when I first watched this film, however long, I wouldn't say 1 or 2 months ago at this point. You could tell he grew up with a father or a mentor that was in the NFL just by the way he plays quarterback. Very clean footwork. His mechanics are it's literally like watching a machine. Like you could see him read defenses. You could see what's going through his brain and how he processes things. He's very clean and smooth with his operation when his O line allows him to have time. But again, with the weaknesses you brought up with him, it's not very mobile.
No.
And especially in today's game, the best QBs in today's game can at least run and extend plays and give themselves some time.
And I would almost say that's a surprise to a lot of people. You grow up as the son of Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
You're kind of expecting him to be a very mobile, athletic type
And don't
of
get
guy.
me wrong, he's not gonna just stand there in the pocket. Like
He's not a statue.
He's not like he'll be able to move some. However, don't expect a 15-yard run to come out of nowhere from Shedeur. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. And I mean, piggybacking on you with the weakness, I think one of his biggest weakness, if not his biggest weakness outside of mobility, is his arm strength. He doesn't have an elite arm. I think Cam Ward has a significantly better arm than him.
I agree.
And I'm not sitting here saying that he can't make it at the next level with the arm strength that he has. He's just not going to be in that tier of having great arm strength. He's he's going to live more with the, I would say,
intermediate passes.
I almost equate him to a Kirk Cousins with arm strength when it comes to that.
I don't hate that.
Kirk-
If we're basing it strictly on arm strength, I don't hate that.
Yeah, I would almost go to the like Kirk can get out of the pocket if he needs to. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of the similar type of game that Shedeur plays. He is not looking to get out of the pocket. He will, and that's a very good strength of his. Is he is very good at manipulating the pocket.
Yeah.
And he can move to where the offensive lineman is blocking, and is where his strengths are on the line. Mm-hmm. Now, like I was just talking about, his arm strength. There's times where he throws a deep ball and it just doesn't go as far as it needs to go. Or if he needs to put a throw over a linebacker's head on a line before a safety can come down and make the play, sometimes he's getting picked by that safety because he just doesn't have enough zip on the ball.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Number 7, I've spoken very highly of this guy. I'm such a big fan of this guy. Tyler Booker, interior offensive lineman out of Alabama.
Yeah, Tyler Booker stands at 6'5", 325. He's literally like a polar bear. Like this dude is, he's a beast. Like
He is. I cannot speak highly enough about this guy.
I think this is going to surprise a lot of people with how high we do have him on our big board on the offensive side of the ball. Not only just because of that, but because he's an interior offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about a Will Campbell. He is better on the inside. Tyler Booker is an interior offensive lineman.
Yeah, no, there's no way you're moving him to tackle.
No, he just, and as much as we're saying he is an interior or offensive lineman, he moves so well.
Does not move like a guard.
For how big he is.
Yeah.
Like, he can pull. He is, like, I think if I had to make a bet right now and I had to give you a player in the draft and you had to just say, like, this guy's not going to stink at all.
Yeah.
He's going to be good.
Yes.
Tyler Booker might be my pick.
I completely agree with you. Like, I don't see, unless he's just put in an awful situation, I just don't really see how he feels at the next level. And we could start with the basics. Just his base. Such a strong, sturdy base. He explodes through the line of scrimmage. He's great at moving to the next level. He stays on his blocks very well. Very strong base, strong arms. Great at torquing defenders. Like we said, moves well. His footwork's amazing. Great athlete, great power. Great leverage, understands those kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much going for him, really.
If you were going to knock him on anything, it would be speed. But how are you going to knock a guy that's 6'5", 330 for speed? Like, you're not supposed to.
If anything,
if he had speed, and by speed I mean like good speed for an offensive lineman, I don't see why he wouldn't be a top 5 pick.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Other than the position he plays.
There's just really nothing he cannot do from a guard standpoint. Like, he's great in pass pro. His running ability is
great footwork.
You could say the best, if not top 2, like, for the offensive line class. Like, again, I cannot speak highly enough of Tyler Booker.
Yeah, but outside of speed, there's not very many weaknesses to this guy's game.
Yeah.
I think whoever's team ends up drafting this guy's going to be very happy.
You're getting
a decade,
a 10-year All-Pro guy. Like, he is legit.
Yeah. And then moving on to number 8, we have Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Egbuka is 6'1", 205, so he's a bigger receiver. The only thing I will say about Ibuka is he primarily plays from the slot. Now, I'm not saying that is a big issue because we've seen players like that, like an Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was a primary slot in college and moves to the NFL and is a primary slot in the NFL. It's worked for him. I don't know why it couldn't work for Emeka Ibuka. The things that Emeka Ibuka does really well are his fluidity, and he has very, very strong hands.
Yeah.
He's a very good route runner, and he is able to create plays after the catch, which, again, we were talking about McMillan or T-Mac a little bit about, was that was something he wasn't the best at. Ibuka is great after the catch and can create when there's not very much there.
I agree, and I think a lot of that has to do with what you said earlier with how just how fluid he runs. Like, it's almost like he just glides when he's running routes. That's why he's a great route runner, why he gets yak. But some of his weaknesses, although we complimented his ability to get yak and how fluid he is as a runner, he doesn't necessarily have breakaway speed.
No.
Now, that doesn't mean he isn't fast. He is fast. He's very fast. But he's not what you would call a burner.
He's not... I would say he's more agile than fast.
Yes. I would say he's more quick than fast as well. Another one, we say contested catches, and kind of an asterisk with that one. Because of his route running ability, he's not put in a position to have to make contested catches, but you would like to see on film more if he has the ability to kind of fight the ball away from defenders or make those tough catches.
And it's kind of hard to knock the guy when there isn't really any film on it. So
Exactly.
we're not sitting here saying he can't do it, but because there isn't any film on it, we just have a question mark about it.
And again, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. Like, you just have to nitpick those things. When you rate a guy as highly as we are rating these guys, you're just looking for like the small little things to kind of separate each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we have with Emeka Ibuka. Number 9, Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State.
Yep. Tyler Warren is an absolute monster. He was a very pivotal piece in the Penn State offense during their playoff run. Mm-hmm. He stands at 6'6", 257. Tyler Warren was a very, very fun player to watch for me. He is a great athlete, very good in the run game, can block, and like we talked about T-Mac, but at the tight end position, he is a very, very good catch radius.
Yeah.
And he shows really great balance in and out of routes. Like, he doesn't get knocked off of his spot, which if you're a taller receiver, it's a lot easier for you to get knocked off your route because you are that taller and it's harder to keep that base. Mm-hmm. He's very good at being able to fight through contact and keeping that balance in and out of his routes.
Yeah, my favorite strength of his that you brought up was his blocking ability. And you have to block as a tight end, but the way tight ends are kind of getting molded today as more of a receiver almost, you don't really see not every tight end blocks nowadays. Yes. I love his ability to block. However, I do have some weaknesses of his. I don't particularly like his route running. And I know he's a tight end, but still, in today's game, like I brought up earlier, you do see tight ends kind of embody more receiver traits. I would like to see him improve on his route running. And he's not really a vertical threat. The passes he does catch, not that they're not deep, but they're within 20 yards. I would like to see him stretch the defense more as a tight end.
Well, and a lot of the way that Penn State utilized him this year was they would have him play quarterback. They would put him under center. He would take snaps, and it was almost like he was a Derrick Henry and a Wildcat. Yeah. Like, that's how they would utilize him.
Not only that, like, almost as like a fullback as well. Like, he's not your typical like on the line tight end. They would have him lined up in the backfield a lot as well. Mm-hmm. And like, I understand you can't, like, if you're lined up in the backfield, you're not running that deep route. Like, you're just not going to. However, when he's not lined up in the backfield and he is lined up on the line, I would like to see him challenge the defense more vertically at times.
Yeah. I really do like him, though. I think he's going to be a very good... I mean, we obviously have him as our number one tight end in this class.
Yeah.
I just think his athleticism, at the size that he is, I think he can only get better. Like, I don't see him having a ceiling right now. Like, he's only going to get better. Finally, our 10th player on our offensive big board so far. Again, this is liable to change tomorrow.
This
Like,
yeah,
we're
this
about
isn't
a-
set in stone.
We're about 100 guys deep on our.
Pause.
Yeah, jeez.
Pause.
We've watched about 100 guys.
Pause. Wow, what is with you?
Can I just? We're talking about the draft. Why does it have to be like this?
You're the one saying it, not me.
That we've watched 100 guys.
Yeah.
We've watched about roughly 100 guys.
Whoa. Pause.
We've roughly watched 100.
What
guys.
is with you?
All right. Number 10, Matthew Golden.
Yes.
Now, it's going to sound probably a little biased because he is a Texas receiver, and he's slowly starting to make his way up on a lot of people's boards.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have very much praise for him early on because of the limited snaps. And I'm not even saying snaps. The limited, like...
chances he got.
And I think a lot of it had to do with the quarterback.
I'm happy you brought that up. When I was going through the process of watching him, I wanted more out of him. I was like, why isn't he getting the ball more often? And then you start looking at the tape more, and you start questioning, like, is it him or is it? I don't want to call people out, but like, is it the quarterback that's throwing him the ball?
Yeah.
And the more you watch, like, you're seeing him get open. You're seeing his route running ability. It's like, no, it's definitely the quarterback. He's open.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads us to our strengths. I think his biggest strength is his route running.
When you talk about route running, I think he is right up there with the best.
I think
route
he is
runner
the
in
best
draft.
route runner in the entire class.
I would not disagree with you at all.
Like, if you haven't watched Matthew Golden yet, like we said earlier, like, he's not going to get the ball as much as you think.
Yeah.
But just watch him the entire time. Watch him. Like, he gets open. His route running ability is there.
Yeah, and I mean, Matthew Golden's only 6 foot. But the other really strong part to his game is he's able to make so many contested catches. At a 6 foot frame, you're not expecting that guy to be able to do that. But he's able to climb the ladder and make those contested catches. We saw it a couple times against Georgia in the SEC championship game. He's just a very, very solid receiver. Now, when you talk about his weaknesses, a lot of people, when you're watching his film, are talking about his speed. I don't necessarily think he has that elite speed. I think this is more so like when we were talking about Abuka. He's more quick.
The same thing.
He's more quick than he is fast.
Yeah.
But I think it works for him because he is such a good route runner.
Yeah.
He's creating so much space that he doesn't necessarily need that breakaway speed because he's creating so much space already. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think you nailed it around the head. Like, you could knock his breakaway speed, but again, that's not necessarily the receiver he is because he's such a good route runner. He doesn't necessarily need it. And we're not even saying he's slow. Like, he's not slow. He's very fast. He's just not fast to the point where, like
oh my God,
if there's open space, he's gone.
Yeah.
Like, he's not that kind of receiver.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for our top 10 offensive players in the draft right now.
Yep.
Anything else you would like to add to this before we get out of here?
I just like what you said earlier. Is this gonna change? Most likely, it's a big board. Like, it's not set in stone. We're gonna watch more players. We're gonna rewatch these players. Like, the combine.
The combine hasn't even happened. Yeah.
Pro days. Like, there's so many things that can either boost someone or put them down a list. So this isn't set in stone. Just as of now, February 4th, this is what we think of these guys.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Please like, subscribe, share the video. Follow us on TikTok at PM Football Podcast, as well as on Twitter at PM Football Podcast. Anything else?
Big thanks to everybody checking out the mock draft.
Yeah,
we will be posting more mock drafts in the near future. Mm-hmm. So if you enjoy mock draft content or just draft content in general, we're your channel for you.
Yeah.
We'll be posting a lot of draft content.
Yeah. Thank you guys. See you next week.
See ya.